Burn the boat in the kingdom, can't turn around. We're lighting up the night, shaking up the ground. Excuses and flames, yeah, we're breaking free. We'll be fire, this is our legacy.
Yo.
Hello. Welcome to the One Big Fire Live, Honey Badger Nation, live with the Mr. Jay Kinder. Welcome.
What's happening, man? How you doing today?
Man, we had snowflakes yesterday. 2 days before that, it was 65. We're grilling. And I know you guys are getting hit with a heat wave down there.
Yeah, we had a nice weekend, though. It was a crazy week, man. We took the kids to Vegas for the Sphere and all that, and then came back, had a wedding, had Amber's family in town, and yeah, it's been it was a lot this week. and in between is this grind,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to be kind of settled into a normal work week.
Yeah,
I say that, and then I leave today to go to Houston to speak at an event. We got Elena Cardone launch tomorrow morning. Right after that, I'm speaking on stage, then coming back home. So got a busy week, man. Good stuff going on.
All good stuff, Bad. But
yeah,
you
know
what? I mean, that kind of leads into what we're talking about. Not a little bit, but I think a lot with regard to leadership. I mean, you're out there leading not just the leaders, you're leading the people that follow us. You're leading the people that need help. They need that leadership. They need that North Star and direction. And that's what leadership's about. And we're kind of talking today's topic is about leading leaders, but it's actually more about what shift do we have to make in our minds and then in our actions to continue to attract leaders, the type of people. We talked about this with the mastermind. You used to always say it. The difference between an A player and a B or C player is the amount of time you're spending away from your family doing stuff with people who just aren't going to go out and do it anyway. And it feels like wasted time.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. The way I described that too, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I instantly saw people's faces of who that was the B player and not an A player. And at that point, I had the, generally speaking, if you're running a real estate team, even a big one, you might have one A player. Like true A player, like you better have one, and it better be your John Kitchens. Like you needed a good operator. But if so in my real estate business, I had not seen a player, I hadn't experienced it, but in a EA I had, and so there's this difference of like this dude rips everything out of my hands and gets everything done 95% of the time. I don't need to oversee him. I ain't got to babysit it. And then when it was Mark Chesley who was the one that said that in that meeting. High level mastermind. These are all big companies and leaders within them. And I immediately thought of this one person that I would pour into him. Like I would stay late, and be like, man, you need to do this and this, and I'd be working with them, and literally then I'd be like, and here's the book you need to go read. This is what you need right here. But like I would lead them, and they would grow that much. Let me go to camera. Grow this much while I was there leading them. But they never moved from there until the next time I was leading them. And then so the only way that they could grow was with me there leading them. That's not leverage at all. And that's what B players end up doing. They suck a lot of your time, but they don't in between the whistles grow and go learn and get, and take your advice on what they should be doing to get better. And it was a huge revelation for me. I think, during that time, I think everybody that ever came to one of our masterminds always went back and fired somebody, like that was kind of the, man, I got to go back and let so-and-so go. But like, there's a big difference between A players and B players, which I think this is an interesting conversation because leadership is one thing. And I think leading A players is a different thing. Like, I think that it's when you have A players, leadership's still as important, but it feels like sometimes not as important.
Well, I think it's easier.
Right. That may be a better way to say it. I would agree.
And so you don't feel like you're pushing that boulder up the hill constantly where there's never a top to it to where finally it's going to fall. And I think that's the difference between attracting followers. So like that, the person that you were just talking about, you probably put them in the follower bucket. they're following your directions, but the second that you stopped coaching them, they stopped growing.
Right.
As the other bucket of leaders, you give them a couple little nuggets, and then next thing you know, they're off to the races. And and it changes the relationship that you have with them.
Right.
It feels more like a partnership that you're running beside them,
Yeah.
in front of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the biggest thing I want you to touch on, Jay, is the thing that I don't think we're not talking about this part enough, which is it caps our growth. If you're going to fill your entire team with people who are just followers, you're going to run out of energy, time, patience, all of those things, because you're constantly trying to push all those boulders up a hill. And then you got your 3 who are just runners. Like
Right.
when they text you and say, hey, I need 15 minutes, they respect those 15 minutes.
Mhm.
I'm gonna bring up our friend Chris Campanelli, because he got my he's the one guy I can talk about that he's on every call. I don't have to call Chris. I never call Chris and be like, Chris, are you going to be on the Monday 10 a.m. mindset call? Nope.
Right.
He's on it. Andre, he's on it. Darren, he's on it. Nick, he's on it. Like, I don't have to beg any of them.
Right.
Nor should we have to.
Right.
And so Chris is frustrated because he's like, man, everything you guys got going on right now, I freaking love it. And it was driving him nuts because he's like, I feel myself, growing into a better leader. And I'm just trying, I know this, I have this one guy, he's a badass. He gets after it. And I've been telling him, hey man, and he's trying to force it to happen to where he
I know who he's talking about. He does got one. We have one. Yeah. We've been adding value. He's going to eventually come because we've just been tugging on him for long enough that he's eventually going to be like, this is dumb. Why don't I come over there? But yeah, certainly. I know what he's talking about, but yeah, go ahead. He is trying to pull.
It was just, and he was frustrated. And if we go back, you mentioned Sheplack, right? Like he's been preaching about this for probably 2 decades. From the first time I saw John on your stage, back in 2013, maybe it wasn't 2 decades, but it was a long time ago.
Oh yeah, 11, I think. And
it's like, if you can only pour into the people that want to be poured into, and the rest, you just have to continue in creating the environment and for their success. Whether they dip into it or not that's none of your business. If they're, it's not that you're doing anything wrong, because if you have 35 people on your training you're doing every week, those 35 people are the ones that I'm going to pour into. Those 35 people, when they hit me up and say, hey, I need 10 minutes, I need 15 minutes, they're going to respect your time. They're going to go out and do it without you calling and babysitting and making sure are you going to be at the meeting? Are you going to be at the training? There's no, you don't have to use your skills. It just flows naturally.
Yeah.
But if you continue attracting and building, you're going to hit that ceiling in growth in your business. And this is the hard part, dude. That's where you're saying sometimes you just have to part ways. That video you sent me was probably one of the most, it's where the 100-0 came from, right?
Right.
The guy was talking about, leading with love, that accountability, 100-0. And people, like, it is accountability, but it's love. And the comment that he made in there, I'm trying to remember the dude's name. It's Dr. Such and Such. I can't remember. Great. Just YouTube, Google it or whatever. The 100-0, it'll come up. But he talks about, we have to coach people up or coach them out. And I think a lot of the leaders that are listening to this have no problem coaching people up. Mm-hmm. It's the coaching people out.
Yeah.
And I want to hear your, in the past of leading people where you felt you've been in a period of time in that relationship where you had to coach someone out. How is it that you approached it to where, because like everyone wants everyone to like them, right? And when you have to let somebody go or just delete someone from your ecosystem because they're not feeding back into it, they're not adding value to it, and they're just takers, how do you approach that with someone on your team?
I'm going to try to say this without with a little dignity. I look at, you got, you got a choice. And I think what I identify is you're either a grower or you're a tool. And so if you're a tool like a hammer, I can use you like a hammer. That's fine. We'll just use you like a hammer. But if you're a grower, then you potentially can lead others. And that moves you into the ability to learn and grow and be able to move your way up in an organization. That's kind of my viewpoint. Once I realize that you're a tool, I'm just going to use the hammer like a hammer is supposed to be used and use the screwdriver like a screwdriver is supposed to be used, but you're never going to have an opportunity to grow and move. And in that conversation, if I'm in an organization I'm leading and I'm in control of leading that, I would be having that conversation based upon core values, fit, what I'm giving them to get better in terms of rating them across. They're going to rate themselves. I'm going to rate them, and I'm going to say, here's where you can get better. And I'm going to give you this book. You should work on this and this, and give them somewhere to be trying to grow. And they're not going to do it. And if they don't do it for long enough, I'm probably going to let them go. Then that's depending on what position it is and what role they're in. And so like that was kind of but once you recognize, like, some people are like, man, they just don't have the growth mindset or they could never lead others because they're so far from who they need to be. And I've become a lot more, this is the psychedelics helping me, over time, but I've become more aware that people are wherever they're at in their journey. And you just have to learn to appreciate that. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just, you met them at a part of their journey where they were just getting started in terms of their human consciousness level versus, a later point at where they had more consciousness. Right. And so I think, you give some grace there, especially if they're willing to grow or at least you see signs of it. Because like, if you go back and think about the best example of someone becoming the best human in an organization that I've ever led was Megan. And, I spent a ton of time with Megan outside the lanes of the, office and leading and, the who moved my cheese and, not wanting to hire people because she felt like we were taking things off her plate. I'm like, girl, we got to get stuff off your plate. You're working 15 hours a day. Like all of those things, but she moved through them, and then she became better. And then she, she would be learning on her own and she ended up running our whole company. And she was just a fantastic leader. But I think part of the reason that she became that was because she knew we really cared about her. Like, I moved her from Lawton to Dallas out of a bad relationship. What was best for her. She actually quit at one point because she had a vision for marketing and this agency, and these 3 business owners in town offered her a job. I said, Megan, it sounds like it's the job of your dream job for you. Like, this is really what you wanted. I'm not mad. I hate that you're leaving, but I'm happy for you. And she left and she went, and it wasn't anything they promised, and she came back. And so like, that's genuinely caring more about her. I mean, I could have tried to talk her out of it, or I could have tried to give her a bump and raise, but like that in her heart, I felt like that was what she really wanted. And I was like, if it is everything they're saying it's going to be, then I think it's a great opportunity for you. I knew the 3 guys that owned, there were 3 business owners in town. I thought, this could be something good for you. And so I think that piece is super important. Like, that you genuinely care about their well-being and what's best for them. And you're not just trying to get them to do what you want them to do. I think that piece is super important from a leadership standpoint, that I'm not doing this for me. I'm trying to make your life better. I'm trying to make your family better. I'm trying to make your marriage better. I'm trying to help you become better. And I think that when people sense that that's really who you are and what you're trying to do to help them, they're more likely to grow and become leaders than just stay stuck right where they're at. Yeah.
So then the question of the day or year is, how do you attract more Megans?
Well, I would say that,
right? I mean,
well, yeah, that's
that talent.
I think that's more of a developed leader, right? Like, I don't know what her journey would have looked like, had she not came into my world. I really don't. So I think, that one is always one that I look back and I'm like, man, that's probably one of the most amazing humans I've ever been around. And so, yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah. How do you attract people that are already leaders or growers? I don't know. You got to have good, I think you have really good filters on the front end. I know this, three of the 7 people, pretty much all of the 7 people that I have that work for me right now are A players. Like it's such a, and they've been with me. Most of them have been with me 15 years. Like they're people that you don't let go. Even if you don't have something for them to do, you would just be like, I'm not going to ever wake up one day and not have that person to go to for something if I needed it. And so, I wouldn't, I told somebody, this is a funny story. You'll appreciate this. So my wife asked me about, Mark McManus, and Mark and Megan are married and have kids together or whatever. They both worked for me. Both of them fabulous leaders, like just the best humans you could ever have in an organization. And a guy calls me one day. Actually, Mark called me and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And he said, hey man, is it okay if I put your name on an application? Well, he had his own business. And so I guess he decided to look for a job or whatever. And I said, yeah, man, I'll vouch for you 100%. So the guy calls me. It ended up the guy knew who I was. He had a business around real estate marketing and stuff. And I said, I'll tell you this much. I said, if I'd have known Mark McManus was looking for a job, I would have started a company to be able to get Mark McManus to work for me again. That's how good he is. I said, he will become the most valuable person in your organization. I don't care if you start him at janitor. He will become the most valuable organization in your company, a valuable person in your whole entire company within 6 months, no matter what you have him to do, but you'd be crazy not to put him on marketing, is what I told him. And so, I don't know where that company ended up and you never really heard back, but that's, those kind of people are super valuable. Like they're always more expensive than you think you can afford, but they're always worth 10 times more than the wrong person.
Yeah. Well, back to the attraction thing. I'm just going to ask you a personal question to see if you can remember where you were personally, but in order to attract, you have to be at the top of your game and leading yourself. So when you were developing Megan and Mark, who I love both of them so much. I mean, you had such a crack, amazing, like top-notch team. And that attracted, think about this, that attracted all the people to the mastermind because it wasn't just you and Mike.
No, yeah.
But it was the whole team. But attracting them, they would have never came to work for Jay Kinder and Michael Reese at NAEA had you not already put the foundation of your leadership, how you were leading yourself, the things that you were showing up every day. Where were you kind of like in a personal and professional mode, if you can remember back then when you brought them aboard, because they were attracted to you. They wouldn't have come to work for you had they not been.
No, it was engineered, man. Like it was it wasn't by accident that we attracted the people that we had, the Crystals and the core group of people that y'all encountered as customers of NAEA. That was created intentionally by living core values within that organization. And it wasn't until Megan quit eventually, right? So after one of the events, she let me know ahead of time that she was going to be good. And I was like, it can't happen, because she was like literally top of the organization. And the big aha that I had at that moment. So we had to call Clayton Mask, who was one of our mentors. And we're like, listen, our director of operations, who basically leads everyone in the company. It's like her reporting to me and Mike, which was a terrible strategy from an ops standpoint, but that's just what it was. We were young and didn't know any better, and it just felt right. Me and Mike were co-CEO. That's how we did it until Clayton Mask had us change it. But we said, hey man, our leader just gone, quit. What do we do? Because we didn't even know all the names of every employee in the company, much less had we interviewed them and talked to them. And, we were just out biz op, growing it, flying around the country, going to events, all this stuff. And he said, you're going to have to talk to every one of them individual. And me and Mike were like, God dang, I knew that was going to be what he says. And so we had to individually meet. So we met with every single person in the company, and they came in our offices. Mike's office was right next to me. We were doing them not back to back, but we, throughout a few days. And every person that came in was saying the same shit I say all the time. Like the core values, get shit done, add value, make a difference, like all the things, 100-0, like all these things that we had tried to, that I'd said a million times to Megan. Megan had been saying a million times to everybody in the company. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized what a great leader she was, because it was almost as if she had never left. And so she was leading the way I had been leading her, and she was leading them, and they were leading others, and that cascaded through the whole company. But because we were in the position we were in, we didn't get to see that every day. And that was our first glimpse at, wow, these people are literally aligned to every value that we have as we built this company and evolved over time. And so that was a really fascinating thing for me to see. Like I just, it was mind blowing to me. Like it makes sense, obviously, when you think about it, or when I say it out loud, but like at the time, not knowing and then experiencing every single person that came in the office, every single one of them totally aligned, totally bought in, totally down for the cause. And that was special. But, the same thing that, when I say like these quarterly meetings, we had those quarterlies. We had action plans based on that, and people came to work there and their lives got better. They became better. They became happier. Their mindsets were being, the right things input into their heads all the time. And so I think people, they protected that environment by not letting somebody that didn't have that same mindset in, right? Like you couldn't come in and fake it till you make it, because they're going to smoke you out real quick. Right. And so that became, the culture became, very protective in our whole hiring process. You had to get through, nobody could hire, especially me, because I would screw it up. They had to come through the group interview process. Someone had to, there's two people in the room. One person's asking questions, the other's watching people's reactions. And then afterwards they get together and they say, here's the two we think should come for an interview. And that would be with whatever department or leader it would be that they would have been under. And so I usually wouldn't be involved at all. And then if that person got brought on, there was this accountability that if you're over here doing something, making an excuse, doing, anything that wasn't in alignment, they pull you aside and be like, hey man, listen, don't ever say that again. Like, because I vouched for you, right? They don't know that person vouched for them, but you feel like you feel like it because you vouched for them. You're like, shoot, man, don't be making no damn excuses. You want to get your head chopped off? That's the last thing you would, right? So like, there's certain things that helped the culture and it helped push people out. And then we even put like in the exercise of bringing people on those core values. And what was amazing was the people that would read those and probably not apply because they knew it wasn't who they are, but the people that it lined up with is like, man, that get shit done was a big one. Because if you're somebody who does get shit done and then you work with someone who doesn't get shit done, it drives you batshit crazy. Be like, no, man, you just get that shit done. Don't bring me no excuses. Like, no, man, let's do it. Let's stay here tonight. We'll do it tonight. I'll stay here till 4 o'clock in the morning. Like that mindset of people who just like to deliver and hit a deadline. If you're working with people that hold you up because they need to do their part and you're waiting on them, you're gonna be like, how can I help you? I'm gonna come over here and do it with you. I'll do it for you. What do I got to do? They ain't gonna let you be the reason they don't get it done. And so that dynamic, that one core value, when people would read that, some people would be like, oh, he says shit in his core values. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna offend you probably more than once. So if this was the first time, you might as well make it be the last time because that's just who we are. And, we debate about it as a company, as leaders. We'd go into that meeting and we would be like, is it really get shit done? Couldn't it be get stuff done? No, get shit done. Like everybody would fight, not just me, like everyone would fight, be like, no, man, it ain't get stuff done, bro. Like, that's not what it is. It's get shit done. Everybody had a feeling around it. But I think the attracting of leaders, at that level, if it's just me hiring the first person, I think I would have a much harder time trying to describe how I would find that person. But in that environment, it was created to find and develop A players. And that was, and we developed a lot of A players. Takes longer, but yeah, fascinating, bro. So fascinating. But yeah, now I'm spoiled. I
feel like the high level leaders, they're not looking for a boss. They're looking for clarity. And this makes me think NAEA days, right? They're looking for clarity, stability, growth. They want security in their leader. And they want to make sure that they feel safe to grow underneath that leader And I guess I'll take it to a different direction now. And it's a question I've asked is, are we building people who depend on us? You were just hitting on it. Like, you're not getting shit done. That means you're depending. So if you're building people that you're going to end up having to come in and do it anyway, versus people who can replace me. And I think a lot of us as leaders were like, oh no, I don't want to bring someone in who's going to replace me. That's the ego getting in your way. No, you want that, right? Like we want people to come in like, hey, come on in. You know, like that's what initially Mark and Megan, they didn't replace you completely, but they replaced you from a lot of the positions.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They both came in at the lowest rung on the ladder, and they both over time moved up into new positions and roles as those opportunities became hireable opportunities. We could have gone outside and hired, and we did. We would usually run, we would run ads for that position, and they would have an opportunity to come in to apply for that position. They were always the best candidate. So like, because we'd seen what they could do, and it's like, man, like, how could you not, give them an opportunity? And so they'd earned it, clearly it earned it. And so, yeah, but fascinating nonetheless.
Yeah. I think, when you're pouring into your company every single day and you're like, all right, I got this great, this is it. We're all in. And you got, with a real estate thing, they're independent contractors. They're not employees of you. So, you can't even put it in writing. At least you're not supposed to. Like, this is a mandatory training. This is a mandatory meeting. When you have to start using words like that, you're usually using those words because it's the followers that you're talking to. You're like you're reminding them, hey, you need to be here. Whereas our growers, we don't have to remind them. They're there. They're there early. They're the first ones there. And that's how we build something to grow. You're not going to hit a ceiling when you continue to bring people in like that. And I think that's what we saw with NAEA and now like moving into Honey Badger Nation. We have, there's a total of 25,000 agents we have with Honey Badger Nation. And I'm saying this to anybody out there that has a team or an organization or a company that doesn't have 25,000 people in it. And you're frustrated because you're doing all these things. You're inviting them to this new opportunity. Here's where this boils down to. You want their success more than they want their success.
Gosh. Yep.
You can't want it for them more than they want it for. And I fell into this trap so many times, mainly with my real estate team and my brokerage, because I thought, this is my ego that's getting in the way. I'll see somebody, meet somebody, and on the surface, I'm like, oh, that's a winner right there. I know they got it. I know they got that it in them. At least I thought anyway. And the real litmus test isn't the initial part of when you meet them, because they're not going to be you're not seeing the real them. You're seeing the them that they want you to see in the interview and whatever. The real them is when it's go time. And are they leading? Are they stepping? Are they showing up on time at everything? And then kind of like going back to what you were saying, if you gave them a nugget to go with, are they going to run with it and come back with it finished or even better than what you thought? Or are you going to have to go back behind them?
No, that's dude. You're right where I was like, that's really once you give someone that level of trust to let them just do what they do and get things done. I held people back for so long that once I finally gave them the ability to own something, this is your responsibility. You own it. I'm not going to come check in on you. I'm not going to ask if it gets done. I'm none of that. That is when they really truly get unlocked, and that's a trust. And you got to give them that accountability to call a shot and make decisions. Otherwise, they are dependent on you. And they come back in your office and go, what should we do here? And that's, that was, I had that, got a minute, meeting, it was a revolving door in my office in my real estate business. Like you come in my office. I remember Victoria, who was my ISA. If you came in my office, you better have 3 solutions to your problem or don't bring it to me. And so they come in like, man, let's go see what Jay would do. And they just wanted, they didn't want to have to figure it out, so they would be like, well, Jay will just tell me what to do. So I'm gonna go ask him. Like, I don't want you to ask me, I want you to figure out what to do. So give me 3 solutions. So she'd walk in my office and she'd be like, damn it. And then she knows I didn't have my 3 thing. I didn't have even thought about trying to solve it. What should I do? What's the method for how you decide? Look at the core values in the company. They should tell you what you should do in this situation. Almost every time you should be able to uncode something in the core values that allows you to make a decision, is what Jay would make, because that's how Jay's going to make a decision. And so, that was teaching them to lean in on the core values to make decisions. What would, is this adding value? Yep. Okay. Then do it. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, I mean, we all want that thoroughbred that could potentially outrun us at some point, until you get them. And I mean, this is just a question. I'm not asking you directly, but I think we've all experienced, like, if you're someone that leads a team or a brokerage out there, we say it all the time. Our biggest risk as a business owner, a brokerage owner, or a team owner, the biggest risk are our highest producers. And the threat is kind of a double-edged sword. We want them to soar. We want them to grow. But like for so many years, because we wanted to keep that person. I mean, this person's selling 35, 40 homes a year on my team. I don't want them to go nowhere, So unconsciously, I know I've done this. I don't know about you, but not let them, like unconsciously, again, not on purpose, but subconsciously holding them back a little from spreading their wings. Because if they truly, if they did truly have the potential to run their own thing, we don't want them leaving, because that means the revenue's going.
Yep.
If they leave, if they start their own team, which is what, honestly, dude, we've said this multiple times. It's the reason I landed at EXP, is because my 2 top ladies, it was time for them to spread their wings. I didn't see it. I was like, nope, it's business as usual. Just get back out there and keep listing. No, they were ready to lead, and I didn't see it.
Right.
So, kind of give us some insight on, like, you lost Megan. That was an example.
Once again, looking back, it's easy to connect the dots. So I'm like, man, I've been skipping my one-on-ones. I don't really know where she's frustrated, but not long before this. So there was evidence of it, because we actually got on a call with Vern Harnish and went through the boxes and who's accountable where, and where I was like, well, Steve does accounting. Megan put her name in that box. Why? Because Steve would come into the meetings and he would have a shit show with the numbers, and I would lose my shit every time. So Megan would meet with Steve, make sure the numbers were right before the meeting. Who owned accounting? Megan. And so we went through, and Megan's name's in all the boxes. And I'm like, how the hell is your name in that box? Why? Whoa. We got somebody that does that. Why? So I had a meeting so I should have known. I still stayed too busy, didn't do my one-on-ones, and then she got to a point stressed, and there's other factors involved that I think ultimately Mark took that role, and so that was part of it. I think was the plan, but maybe not. But nonetheless, she was definitely doing more than she should have, and I should have seen that, and I didn't see it. But looking back, it was easy to see. You know what I'm saying? Like looking back, like when did you do your last one-on-one with those girls, right? Like. Well, I should have, but I didn't. Right. And so, like I always remember, like Richard Hickson was a restaurateur. Is that how you say that? So whatever, he owned a restaurant. Good dude, country boy, great fit, great core value fit. But when he came on board on the team, he got his license. He said, hey, Jay, I just want to let you know, I'm going to get my broker's license and I'm going to open a brokerage. That's my goal. That's my vision. That's what I want to do. And I said, man, that's not a problem at all, man. You stay here as long as you like. When you're ready to go, we'll celebrate it. And that wasn't because I was a good leader. He actually came to me and told me what his vision was. So I knew, whether I wanted to know or not. But I think with most of our teammates, if you say, man, what's their vision? Like I used to think about, like, are my agents even paying their taxes? Like, how are they at home? How is their family? How are their debts? Like, if you don't get to that level of caring for your people, then you don't really know. And your best people, you go get a Chad Smith or like some of these, real entrepreneurial rock stars that come and go out there. Ryan Sullivan was one. They came, these are friends that I hired, so not best examples, but they were all A players, grinders. Like they're going to go kill it. Eventually, they're going to want to go do something on their own if they don't see an opportunity within your in your world where they can become who they want to become and do what they want to do. And so you have to always understand where they're at, where they're trying to go, and how you're helping them get there. And that needs to be a continuous conversation. And then it'll never be a surprise. I mean, true, unless they lie to you. If they lie to you, then you got a whole nother situation of how did it get to this point where you thought it was okay to lie, and then you just duck out on me. But like when I've had plenty of failed leadership experiences. That's how I know a little bit about leadership. And I wouldn't trust anybody who says they've led flawlessly, because that's not. I don't think that's a real world example. That you always recognize where you could have been better. And again, this goes back to that 100-0 mindset. The whole thing, you were saying it earlier about 100-0. The thing about 100%, 100-0, 100% accountability is taking accountability when something like that happens. And that's not how I felt in the moment when John Kitchens and my top 3 agents and everybody in my company left and went and started another company. That's not the first place I went was like, oh, what could I have done better? If the first place I went was, how could you sons of bitches? You know what I'm saying? Like, after all I've done, like all that ego, that's how I felt. And it took me a while to simmer down, but once I finally simmered down, and I was like, okay, this is like a year later, probably. And so like, finally I was like, man, I could have communicated what I was, the vision better. I could have been more involved in what they were doing personally. I was too busy grinding and not doing the leadership piece. And so that, again, those were painful leadership lessons. And so, you tend to start to remember those after a while, and you're like, okay, now, making sure that your people are, and I see it in me now. Like I'm like, man, I got to be better. Even with the team I got now, the team we got right now is the best I've ever worked with. Harley, Jeff, every single one of them, Miranda, Tracy, Cassie, Holly, they're Braden, all of them. They're absolute rock stars, and they care about delivering on the promise. Like, let me just show you, dude. So this just came in. I just got this email. So this is how I know I don't have to lead. Okay. But now I'm the one that made sure this got put in place, but it was my idea a long time ago, but they made it happen because they know that this is the truth teller. It's like, we can pretend like we're doing a great job, or we can measure it and see if we're doing a good job, which one do y'all want? Because one of them's better than the other. And so, I wanted this for my own peace of mind, because like, I can give y'all all the reins in the world to go do it all, and I'm not going to ever check in on you, but I'm going to want to see one number, and that's going to be Net Promoter Score. And so, let's see. I'm just going to share the whole screen. So, here we go. So, this is just a survey, right? So this is Net Promoter Score survey. So new funnel pilot, Net Promoter Score. We're doing this for free. We do this for agents. We don't ever charge them anything. I still want a Net Promoter Score. I want to know if the experience could be better, and where it could be better, and how we can get better. And that, we don't get one on and not everyone fills one out. But when something goes wrong, we go back and look at process, and we say, okay, how could we make that better, a better experience? And I don't have to be the one reading these and going over them in a meeting to do that. They understand this is what matters. This is all that matters. How do people feel? Are we getting them results, and are they happy? And this is a good one. But just started this morning, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, right? It's like that. Boom. Are we making it easy? Are we making it fast? Are we getting them to the goal as quickly as possible? The answer is yes. And so, if when you have, I think you have to cast that vision as the leader as to what you're delivering on as a company. Is it still sharing or no?
It's not showing, but that's all right.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know how to share on these things. These things are
anyway. I'll stop sharing. Anyways, there's an email that came in if it didn't show it, but it's the Net Promoter Score with 10 10s, and that that's what I made a post the other day. I was like, this is what makes me dangerous. Like this. You can go sell stuff, you can go make a good offer, you can do all that stuff, but if you ain't measuring that, then, how do you know if somebody's happy or not happy? And so I think, when you set the right frame for what success looks like, success isn't adding 10,000 agents. Success is helping 10,000 agents, right? That's a different level of accountability.
Yeah. I love it, dude.
Yeah, baby.
Dude, you know what crept into my brain as you were talking? If you're listening to this, you might be thinking, damn, Jay's team is perfect. And yeah, like they must all just everything's smooth in meetings, they all get along and are high-fiving him.
Oh yeah, no.
Any discussions that get heated or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not true.
No. It gets actually. I think with with this type of structure, and people feel safe saying whatever needs to be said, and so there's nobody walking around on eggshells because they might make someone mad, and so it actually makes the conversation a lot more colorful at times, because people feel, okay, I can say what I feel, you can say what you feel, and we're going to not be mad at each other at the end of the day. We're all trying to get to the same goal here. What do you think's better? Well, here's why I think this is better. Here's why I think this is better. And that's actually, I'd rather have that, because what it used to be, dude, I sat through all the strategy and I didn't have to say anything. Everybody had their opinions on what they thought was the next priority and what it should be. And I was like, I'm glad, because y'all didn't come in here going, Jay, what are we doing next? That's not, they're closer to everything than I am. They have a better idea of what we should be doing next than I do. There wasn't a strategy that was a move that we needed to make, or improve on. It was, how do we not fuck this good thing up is basically what we're trying to do. Right.
Yeah.
And so they all had opinions on where it was broken, and the processes need to be better and how we need to implement differently. And so that was, I was happy to be, but if I got in that meeting and I said, here's my 3 priorities, they would have probably sat back and maybe not shared their opinion, or maybe like, man, I'm going to go change that one that I had because that, or whatever. And so, I think that is something that I haven't experienced in the past. In the past, if I'd have let everyone make the decisions for what we should be focused on, I ain't no telling we'd have been dead. It wouldn't have taken long, because it was always sales and marketing. Like, we had to make money before anything else was important. It was always the goal. And otherwise jobs were going to be lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. I mean, kind of putting a bow on this, dude, what I think the reason that they feel that freedom is you've created a safe space. They feel safe enough to be able to give those opinions and even argue about them passionately, which is what you want.
Hell yeah.
Within the parameters of respect and being respectful to everybody, but within those parameters of being respectful and whatever, you give them the freedom, that safety that knows, like, hey, if I speak up right now, I'm not going to get shit canned. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow without a job.
Yep.
Like, this is actually encouraged. And so it's that man, it was what Charlie Kirk was doing, right? Like, he was promoting dialogue between people that disagreed, and not just like, he welcomed it. He facilitated it and welcomed it, because somewhere in there is going to be the truth and the answer of the way that we're moving forward. I got one other question for you. I want you to imagine this. And this is, if you're a team leader, I want you to think about this question too. Let's say you have a team of 5-6 people on your real estate team, and you're thinking, you know what, I need to get that to 20 or whatever, right? But think about it like this. Because that was me. I'm like, more's better. Bring them on. You remember who I partnered with, I'm like, shit, I could double my team right now. And I did that. And it turned out to be the wrong move. The reason it was the wrong move is I had a culture I built around the core values that we lived and what we believed by and that we spoke every day. And then I inserted a completely different culture that had completely different core values and beliefs into that really good culture, and it poisoned it. Ultimately, if you were to bring somebody in to your team right now, accidentally, obviously, you wouldn't do this on purpose, but they snuck in somehow. They put on this facade that was like, whatever. And you got in, they made, like, tell me that they would stick out like a sore thumb pretty quickly. Yeah. They that safety away, and the rest of the team will start to feel that. And like, hold on a second, you just brought an intruder into this motherfucker.
Yeah. We did it once. We had somebody sneak through the process early on that that used the core values. Every time I'd walk in the office, she'd be like all chipper and she'd say something that was like the core values and this, that, and the other. It wasn't probably 2 months later that we recognized that she had been taking and deleting her voicemails, that people, the calls she was supposed to be taking every day. And at the end of the day, instead of answering them, she just deleted them. Now, there's not a good system for finding that, that's happening but all the communication for those same people were coming to her too. So delete. You know, I just ain't doing this shit. You know, I don't even know how you become that human being, but absolute psychopath, like unbelievable. Not a bad, like not mean, not, you know, just you would have thought she fit, but behind the scenes she was doing that. I've never had. That's only one time I've ever seen something like that, but normally that behavior comes out, and it did eventually come out in other meetings, and it was brought to my attention, and then we started looking, and that's how we found it. And so usually I think it does flush itself out. But the way around that is, as strongly as you may feel about your culture, I guarantee you the people that are there living it every day care more. And like, we're hiring someone right now, an AI engineer for everything that we do AI. And we've, you know, that process doesn't include me. Not at all, because it's not, they don't report to me. They're not going to work with me on a daily basis. This is, how do we optimize everything that we're doing and everything we do for every agent that we bring on board? And the interactions are with my team, not with me. That's who that person's going to report to. They're doing exercises, giving them tasks, you know, giving them all of these tests, like, of, is this the right person? And so, you know, we'll see if it's a hire or it's a project. I'm not sure on this particular person, whether they're looking to come in full time or not, or if it's going to be some type of contractor role. But super fascinating. But I trust them more than I trust me. If I get involved, I'm gonna be like, yeah, man, he said the right thing, you know. And you start, you know, I'm dumb, man. I'll make a mistake. I know that I'm usually wrong, especially when it comes to the things I'm not as. I think this just comes with age. Before, I would thought I know everything. I'm not in the closing department with Tracy on every file. I'm out there doing another listing, doing this, that, and the other. She knows better how to handle a situation than I do. And so for me to try to police that or manage that would be the wrong thing. It's the same thing with, you know, with the roles and responsibilities that you give any people in any organization. They're better suited with a guideline of core values to make those decisions, to make the same decision you would make every time.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole exercise you can go up and probably YouTube it and find out how if you don't have core values that are leading your organization from the front, which is your core set of beliefs. It's what you believe in. You know,
yeah, it's how you make decisions. Like, you know, if you think it's fluff, it's not. It's like, how did you make that decision? Well, it's going to add value. That's how we made the decision. Okay, well, that might be a core value. You know, is this going to add value to someone's life? Yes. Should we get them a gift when when the speaker comes to speak at EGS this year? Is that going to add value? Yes. The answer is yes. Right. So, yeah, like, it truly is the mechanism for how you decide. And until you figure out how you make your decisions and align that to a core value set, that how you behave, you can't really create a culture. And that's, I think people think it's too fluff. It's like, man, I like the way this one sounds. I like the way that one sounds. Like, I know it. I know this is important, but you have to look at how you got to where you're at. And, there's aspirational core values that you want to be, that you're not, that you want to put down, but that ain't who you are. That's not them. You can always get better and you can always add and change things. But I think it's super relevant to think about how you actually make decisions so that you can create a culture where people make the same decision you would make. If that's what you're trying to accomplish in an organization, really. Yeah.
Imagine trying to build something meaningful and solid and successful that scales when you're bringing people onto the team that just do not believe the same things that you believe in. You're now we've used it. We're overusing the term pushing a boulder up a hill, but that's exactly what it's going to feel like. And you're going to actually hate life. You're going to hate your business. You're going to want out. I have been there.
You're going to want to kill that person. Like when someone is absolutely the opposite of what you believe, a deep core seated belief you have in life, and they're going against it, man, the hair on your neck will stand up. I'm that way when somebody makes an excuse,
Yeah, I want to leave it with this. You said something, and as soon as you said it, I typed it out and I put it up here. And the thing is, as good as you may feel about your culture, and if you're reflecting on this, good, okay, because you might be feeling like your culture. Oh man, we got a great culture. I used to feel that way about Stacey Group. I'm like, we're a nice tight knit family. I only got 12 agents in me. I can love on everybody, right? Like I felt that way until my two top leaders left, right?
Right.
But I guarantee your team feels even more strongly about it than you. You just said that. I don't know if you know you said that. I just posted it up there because you really need to start involving them in it. And if you have if you have someone that's not right in your organization, that's probably the sickness that's making its way like a virus through the rest of your people. And that's how you lose a top producer. That's how you lose one of your great leaders. When you bring someone else in, I was just talking to one of our other team leaders. I'm not going to say his name on this one, but he lost his top agent. Prior to that, he had brought a new agent on that unfortunately I helped introduce him to. They're brand new, just got their license, seemed like a hustler. She was a hustler, as a matter of fact. But she was spreading virus, talking to others around there. It starts getting back to the team leader, and he had to make a big decision. Like, God, she's actually selling like 2 houses a month right now. I don't want to let her go. I'm like, yeah, if you don't, you're going to lose the girl that's doing 4. Unfortunately, that's exactly, he ended up letting her go, but ended up losing the other one because it was too late. The virus already started infecting the rest. And what that does is it's a reflection right back on you as the leader. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're expecting us to uphold these values you're preaching over here, but then you're bringing this person over in here who's completely oil and water with the rest of us, and you allowed that person to infiltrate, right?
Yep, it's 100%, dude. Your people are going to look at you like you're a fake. This is a facade. You don't really believe this, or you wouldn't let this happen. I would never be able to get away with this, and you're allowing it to happen, and that's how they feel. And until you make that decision, there'll be people that come up to you and say, "I can't believe you kept them as long as you did." And that's it sucks, but it's what you have to do. You have to. It never turns out better. It only gets worse every time.
Well, we got to jump here. It's been a great episode, but I want to invite everybody to see this amazing team we've been talking about. Okay. We've been talking about how A players, if you want to meet a group of A players and see how a real operation runs at a super, super high level, just come join us on Thursday. It's 12 noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, wherever you're at. You can do the math on the rest, but go to jetfuelleads.com/live, jetfuelleads.com/live, and join us on Thursday. And after that, bro, I'm out. I'm going to Italy, eat some spaghetti.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah. It's my first time across the pond, dude, and I'm a little nervous just because of everything that's going on with TSA and all this other stuff, but I'm super stoked.
Yeah, and, man. Keep a daily log of the things you would do or not do, so when I go, I can copy from you.
Have you ever been to Europe at all?
I've never been across the pond.
I always thought I was the only one. Like everyone, people
haven't
that I was at a little get together this weekend in my neighborhood, and I told people I was going to Italy, and this couple were like, "We go every year, not just to Italy, but just to Europe itself." And they're like, "Yeah, we go all the time." I'm like, "You go all the time?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're like hooked on it. It's awesome, right?" And I've always been like, I'm good. I'm good right here in the States, especially now with all the craziness going on. But yeah, leaving for a week. And the reason I'm able to leave is I've assembled a very small, powerful team of A players that I can leave my business for 7 days, and I'm going to sleep like a baby the whole time.
Yeah.
If you can't go on a vacation and completely disconnect from your business, attract some more A players, get that culture together, your core values. And
I would say too, give them a chance. Give them a chance to lead while you're gone, and I promise you're going to be impressed. They're more capable than you think most times.
Awesome. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
Have a good week, man. See you at the top.
Oh, from the top.